So, Rajiv ji, namaskar.
Namaskar, Namaskar, Baleshi, and Namaskar to all of you guys.
And we
Namaskar.
welcome all the members from Infinity Foundation, and we have our members from Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank Rajiv Malhotra ji for his continuous guidance and support for our team in Infinity Foundation Australia. Today's meeting is for next step for formation of Infinity Foundation Australia, or you can say in Hindu Dialogue, and for which number of members across Australia have been working tirelessly for a number of months. We would like to thank Rajiv Malhotra ji for his continuous guidance and mentoring for this mission, and for preparing intellectual Kshatriyas as per his term. This is a big void of Hindu representation in Australia, like many other Western countries, and this sometimes leads to number of harms that comes to dharma. Malhotra ji's contribution to revive intellectual mission for dharmic tradition is unparalleled. Countless dharmic individuals have benefited from Malhotra ji's work in their service to dharma. Infinity Foundation Australia is an organized effort in the same direction. Today's meeting, we shall discuss the efforts that Infinity Foundation has been making so far, and future projects and future plans, and also we'll discuss number of events that we are going to organize with Malhotra ji in coming time. We will also discuss a number of issues that we think are very important for Australia or Australian geography. But to begin with, we'll do a short introduction of all the teams that we have, so that Malhotra ji is familiarized with number of members, and briefly we'll try to convey that what sort of idea that we have among all different teams that we want to learn from Malhotra ji. So to begin with, we have our team in Sydney. We have Sagar Raghavendra ji, Poonam Sharma ji, Mr. Radhakrishnan ji, Harita Dhankar ji, and we have Hindu Samsevak Sangh Pramukh in Australia, Ramya Varan ji. We have Karthik Subramaniam ji, who's running a Sanskrit school, first Sanskrit school in Australia. We have Prakhar Srivastav, and we also have youngest member of Infinity Foundation. So we want to move to Brisbane team now.
I did not see the youngest member.
Okay, we'll bring youngest member.
How old is the youngest member? Wonderful. Hello. Namaste. Good.
So
nice to meet you.
This is the diversity. We have 5-year-old and 60-year-old, 60-year young. So we have quite variety of members. Now we'll go to Brisbane.
Thanks, Baleji. Namaskar to everyone. Namaskar, Malhotra ji. Namaskar, Melbourne team. I think we were lucky to have a brief chat with Malhotra just prior to this hangout started. And so I would just like to reintroduce myself, Kushagra Bhatnagar, and with me is Rahul ji. And we've been associated with the Infinity Foundation ever since Baleji proposed this idea, and that's the reason we made a trip, especially to meet Malhotra ji. And it was our good fortune that we get a chance. We not only got a chance to have an enlightening session of about an hour from Malhotra ji, but even a book, the new book. And I think Baleji and I were the first two people who got this book. So I think in that sense, we are part of that history. And that book, once I took that book to home, my mother started reading it, and then they did not allow me to take that book back with me. So that book is still with my parents. Rahul ji is the newest member. He's from Mysore, and I think I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone and and probably leave it to Melbourne team.
Thanks, Kushagra ji. Ashwin ji, please.
Namaskar, Namaskar Rajiv ji, Namaskar Balesh ji, and Brisbane team. Myself, Ashwin Bora, Rajiv ji, I'm the one. We are the team who couldn't unfortunately meet you yet out of the 3 teams here, but looking forward to it. we've been associated with Infinity Foundation since the inception days as well. And as the agenda progresses, you'd notice that we were fortunate to add to the agenda from Australia. So I'd like to introduce other two team members, Vijit Shetty ji and Shivesh Pandey ji.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Thank you, Ali.
Thanks a lot, Ashwinji. Now, moving ahead, Malhotra ji, we have number of topics, and we wanted to present the activities that Infinity Foundation Australia we are trying to make effort to do in Australia, and we want to discuss future plans and future projects and events, and also take guidance from you. So, before we go on those topics, would you like to add anything in terms of introduction and in terms of knowing these teams?
No, I am very, very happy to meet each of you. This is exactly what I want to do. Is since I am 63 and I'm not going to be, I've been doing this for almost 25 years, 20 years full time, 25 years I've started this work. First 5 years was sort of part time. And you know, I know that I have to turn it over to some other people before it's too late, and it will take a long time to train them and get them understanding everything so the work can continue after me. And my foundation is not set up to be, succeeded by any my family people, but merit based. I believe in merit. So whoever are the best merit people, I want to turn over everything I've done to these people. So Infinity Foundation has resources, has a lot of intellectual capital, owns a large amount of written material that we have never been published so far, a lot of hundreds, thousands of hours of videos, lectures which we never published. So a lot of this will take time, and I need help to do this. It also has capital, it has funding. I put in a lot of money, some of it is still there, some of it got spent. So it is a substantial organization, and I am looking for young people who I can be convinced are the right people. Then I can, have them transition and start taking this over. So I'm very happy to meet this kind of group, because clearly you seem like very committed people and very serious about all this. So I'm delighted to meet all of you.
Thanks, Rajiv ji. Thanks for this encouragement. I would like to just briefly tell you and whole team that the activities that we have been doing so far or trying to do so far, we were active in different groups and different organizations, and one void that we have been seeing for quite some time is basically good right Hindu representation or dharmic representation whenever it comes to interfaith domain, be it a debate, be it a forum or any sort of intellectual work. There is hardly any Hindu representation. It's needless to say that number of organizations are quite active and they're making their best effort. And in Australia, namely, we have Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh, Hindu Council, but they have so much work in their hand in terms of different direction, like cultural activities and other type of activities, that this area sometimes is not very well looked after. So in this area, we have been reading your literature, we have been reading your research papers and books. So this idea came about that we should form a group and prepare people who can actively participate in interfaith forums and debates. And moving ahead, we can, taking benefit from your books and in-depth research, we should carry out our own original research on the topics that could not be covered so far. And we also wanted to propagate number of ideas, number of concepts that you have been writing in books through different mediums. So in this direction, this is the group, and I'll just mention that number of people are not able to participate in today's meeting because of their other commitments or travel reasons. But what we have been doing is weekly sessions of someone reading your book, doing homework and presenting that part of a chapter to whole group, and by that whole group can benefit, and then we run a discussion session afterwards and question and answer session afterwards. This gives us understanding, in-depth understanding to whole group, and also the discussion session basically improves that understanding, and that way we are more equipped to participate and debate in any interfaith debates. And moving ahead, we are also identifying number of topics, number of areas where we need to do own original research, taking ahead your work so that it can go even beyond the limit of that one particular book itself. So in past 3-4 months, even though we had a pause in between due to our volunteer work for general election 2014, but now we have resumed. There are a number of projects that we will discuss after in this call afterwards, and we have also started the process of forming the official formation of Hindu Dialogue as well as Infinity Foundation. I'll also introduce the reason why we have Infinity Foundation as a company name and Hindu Dialogue as a trading name is because the way it works in Australia is a little bit different from the way it works in US. Foundation, word foundation means different in US, whereas in Australia it means differently. And also there is a trend in Australia to have a identifying name, be it Hindu or be it Indian, so that the community organization can work even better and can have more acceptability in interfaith events. That's why we are using Hindu Dialogue as a trading name. Now, moving ahead, we have a number of questions from different team members, and we would also like to get your guidance on interfaith events and these research that we are doing that we just explained on what is the best way of doing these activities and what is the best way to participate in interfaith events. So I would also invite anybody to ask any question now, and meanwhile we can have a number of number of points from Malhotra ji. Yes.
Can I say something?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. So this is very good to know. This is very good introduction. Question I have is, do you want for your hangouts? Do you want since a lot of this is done by video and people can be anywhere in the world? Do you want members who are outside Australia to participate? Is that good for you or not?
By concept, we originally thought that it has to be at least oceanic, Australasia at least, because we are not limited with one geography. And also another thing is the effort that we are trying to make is to have better Hindu representation. Now that we have this issue in other countries as well, like New Zealand or even other Australasian country. So by saying so, we would welcome if anybody from other countries also join us. When it comes to India, it becomes a different mechanism, but in principle, we are very happy to get other members from other countries.
So, because if you were to post something on the e-group, then like for example, suppose you had posted something for the e-group announcing today's event. I'm sure that Sunil Shiorian in Canada would have joined, because 7 o'clock here, also 7 o'clock in Toronto, is perfect timing. I'm sure that Ravi, in Orlando would have, in Toledo would have joined. I'm sure that the other Ravi, Jai Shankar in New Jersey would have joined. I mean, I know quite a lot of people personally who would love to join. So this initiative, the good thing is the leadership is what matters. So you are providing the leadership. What we lack in our community sometimes is good leadership. So you are providing good leadership. And therefore, people, if you are willing to have people from other countries, let's leave India out, but other, NRIs, OCIs, PIOs, if you want those guys to be able to join, I have no problem. We can expand it, and you can include them.
Well, we are very happy to learn that. I have got chance to interact with Sunil Shiorian. I didn't speak to Raviji so far. This being an introductory session for Infinity Foundation Australia. We are fortunate to have you as a introduction for whole team. But in next session, when we are making it public hangout and wider, we are trying to reach wider audience. We would definitely be happy to connect all the members that we have listed now.
Okay.
So before we go to question and answer, would you like to have any opinion or any guidance on the activities that we have been doing so far.
Yeah, I think your activities are very good, and I would like you to ask me whatever the questions from your side. One other point I wanted to make is that I am teaching a one-day workshop in Toronto on in the middle of August. I don't remember the date, but I think you probably know the date. Middle of August, I am doing a Toronto workshop on how to be intellectual Kshatriya. So what I was thinking is, if we can find a good time which suits both you and your time and Toronto time, which is same as my time here. Now this is on 20, I think it is on 20. Either it is 22nd or 23rd. Is this this particular workshop of August? If you want, we can have a half-hour Google Hangout between people in the workshop and people that in your organization.
That's very fantastic idea. We'll definitely I think we will be able to organize this, and we'll get all the locations from Australia, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and by that time I think we'll have members from Adelaide and Perth as well. So I'll be able to organize this definitely.
Because see, my idea of giving these intellectual Kshatriya workshops is to train small cadres of people. So first is in Toronto, second one is going to be in Washington DC, that will be 2-day, and then it will be in Houston. So these 3 are already confirmed for this year. So after producing these people, it's they always want follow up from me, kya kare and all that, what to do, how do we go about it. And it is more strenuous for me to give the guidance, same guidance over and over again to every group. It is more convenient for me if I can say that people in Toronto, people in Washington, people in Houston, people in Australia, if I can have all of these people come together once in a while and we can have a kind of a global hangout.
I think that's the best way, Rajuji. And also we agree with that. If we can learn from other teams as well, in the sense that the activities they have been doing or the issues they have been facing, a lot of them would be similar to ours. So it would benefit us as well to interact with them and to have a joint conference. And if you can briefly tell us the format of workshop so that we can organize in similar fashion and we can have better coordination and make best use of your time as well.
Okay, so what I will do, write to me and remind me. I will pass on your thing to Sunil and ask that Sunil can participate in the next hangout which we do together a month from now. Then in that hangout, one of the topics can be how to coordinate the August. So let's say we do a hangout in July, and in that Sunil can join and a few other people. And one of the topics in that can be that in August, when there is this Toronto event going on, how that Toronto event can have one section. The event will be from 9 o'clock till dinner time. There'll be many things going on that I will be teaching. Then there'll be interaction. Then there'll be a Q&A like that. So somewhere in there, somewhere maybe in the evening here, because that will be good time for you. We could have a slot where we go on the Google Hangout with you. And then you and Sunil can discuss what is the format and how to maybe somebody from Toronto can tell you what they learned. You can ask them questions, vice versa. You can tell them a little bit about what your activities are. So maybe that can be a way to get to know each other, the two groups,
Perfect. Yeah. That's very fantastic idea, and we will definitely be in contact with Sunilji to organize this. Can you also tell us the format of workshop that you will be doing with Toronto or Washington team, so that we can use that format when we are planning a workshop with your visit in maybe somewhere in next week that we are planning, and we'll discuss about that event as well.
So let me tell you the format. Format is that there is there will be 2-hour modules. Each module will be 2 hours. And there will be 4 modules in a day. So there will be 4 modules Each module will be 2 hours, and after each module there will be a break. So morning module followed by 15-minute coffee break. Second module in the morning, 2 hours, followed by lunch break. Then in the afternoon, one module followed by coffee break. Second module, then it's the end of the day followed by dinner. So each module of 2 hours will be on one theme, one topic. Within this, under the umbrella of intellectual Kshatriyata, I will break it. I have not decided the details yet, but I will break it into 4 modules. Each of the 2-hour modules will have 1 hour when I am talking and 1 hour when we are discussing, when we are having questions and discussing and so on. So my 1 hour will be PowerPoints. I will have prepared PowerPoints and I will have handouts. And then after that we will have go into details of people have questions, we can go through those, and what are the action plans, what can we learn from from this module, how does it apply to the people in Toronto, what are the situations they are facing. They're facing situation with media, they're facing situation with interfaith, they're facing not only we have problems with interfaith with other traditions, there is also need for a kind of interfaith among Hindus, because Hindus themselves need to be educated better. So in Toronto there may be like 25 different Hindu groups, and large number of them are not on our wavelength. They are into this business of everything is same, all religions are same, like Brahma Kumari types. They will say that why are you creating a difference and whatnot. So there is also need for a certain interfaith which is within our Hindu groups. So all of these points we will discuss. Every module we want to have this kind of discussion and have people take responsibility to do something after the hangout is over.
That's perfect. So this is very exciting for us. One thing that I wanted to ask, we are planning an event of interfaith debate or interfaith event in next year, and we are hoping for you to join in during this event. But before that happens, can we also plan to organize similar workshops? Maybe 8 hours is not possible because the time window between New York and Sydney is not that long, the matching time window. Maybe 2 modules per workshop is, if it is possible, then we can plan in that direction as well.
Yeah, we can think about it, but we can also, I would like when I'm there, we can do an actual physical event, when I'm there.
Yes, definitely. So that event is already in planning, and we are also already working on it. Only thing is, when you are here, we wanted to make most of your time, so that for that we need to bring all the team members at that level, so that we can benefit most out of your time when you are here.
Right. And not only my 4 books so far, but I will have another book out also by then.
That's very good. So we hope to have that book first in Australia.
This will be the most important book for Hindus, because it is basically going to give guidance to the government. What is the government job to right now? Previously, we did not have a cooperative government, so we could not have such a conversation. Now we have a cooperative government, but we now want to put a very strong, very clear, very practical Hindu agenda.
Yep.
And so the book is going to be on this. I'm not announcing, so don't let it get out from this group. But I will basically in this book spell out that how a tradition using the Hindu texts, using the Hindu Itihas, all the ideas from Dharma Shastra, Artha Shastra, and so on. What is the way to run Bharat as per Hindu Rashtra? So this is what my book will explain, and it will have many very original ideas, because it also connects with the reality of the 21st century and the modern youth and everybody. People are very westernized and anglicized. So I'm going to take people from wherever they are, including whether they are orthodox, whether they are westernized. I will start with in a language that they can understand, and then by the end of the book convince them of a whole different approach to the way we live our lives.
I think more than a book, this would be an action plan for Indian government.
Yes, this is action plan for Indian government, for Hindu Dharma Acharya Sabha, because previously the Hindu leaders said that the government will not allow them to do things. Now they don't have that. They can't say that. What should be the future of a mandir? What is their responsibility? Civic groups like your groups, you know. So it will spell out at many levels what are the action plans that we have to carry out. Because and my goal is to have it out, you know, by January or something like that. And so I'm working very hard. Actually, I'm spending all my time working on that.
Perfect, perfect. We are eagerly waiting for this book.
Probably Malhotraji could launch the book from Australia itself.
Well, you know, let's see.
In Australia is one way very significant in terms of dharmic history. Australia has old connection with India. Aboriginals, the natives of Australia, have connection with Hindu Dharma, which is recently also confirmed by genealogy as well, research in genealogy, that 5,000 years back, Hindus or Indians came from India, and it was also confirmed by archaeological research as well. So a number of people are already working in that direction, and we have Karthik Subramaniam ji, who have long experience of working with Aboriginal people here, and he has a question to ask. I think I'll pass over mic if I can to Karthik ji.
Namaste, Rajeev ji.
Namaste.
Okay, having gone through all your books in the past, what will be the prerequisites for attending workshop? Because not from looking at the perspective, not everybody would have read all your books in that depth. So, so is there any kind of suggested material that could be given to people? That is one thing. I know you may not like this question because we expect people to have a lot understanding, but from my experience, not maybe outside this group, not many people would have read all your books. And also
in Toronto and in Washington and in Houston, the people have similar level of preparation to what you have. They have read some of my works, not all of it. They have watched a lot of videos. They have read many of my blogs. But so for a few months, they've been reading things and having these discussions. A little bit more advantage they have over the people in Australia is that Toronto I visited like maybe 8, 9, 10 times. And so they've seen me in many events, and similarly Washington and similarly Houston, I've been there many times. So the only difference will be that in Australia, I have not actually visited, but the actual level of interaction with my books and all that you are having will be enough. More important than that is attitude. You know, I don't want to waste time with people who are not convinced of the need for intellectual Kshatriya. I don't want to argue with Brahma Kumaris who say, we don't even need this, and either everything is same or everything is mithya, or this is not our problem and we should not create these differences. I don't want to have people who don't even want to be intellectual Kshatriyas, because then I am wasting my time. So the people have to be selected, those who say, I agree there is a problem with Hindu identity being represented. I am a Hindu. I have no doubt about claiming that. I want to learn how to project the Hindu-ness better in a superior way. And I realize that this is not something government can do here or somebody else, some authority can do. We have to self-organize and do it. So this is the kind of attitude I want as a prerequisite. And once they have this attitude, then we give them suggested reading material in advance, have a few hangouts to get them prepared, and that is all. Then the rest we will do in the event itself.
Okay. So I think the summary of this answer is attitude that matters, and of course homework will help.
Yes.
So now we have Poonam Sharma ji with us, and she has a question.
It's a privilege to speak to you, Rajeev ji, and I've sort of dabbled and read some of your books, and haven't completed any of them fully, but I've loved reading them. It's been a big inspiration. I've sort of been brought up in the UK, and growing up as a Hindu, I was very confused and no direction. Like you say, like Brahma Kumari saying, everything is the same. It's wonderful that you're giving us a new direction and saying that we have to be challenged. So when I work as a GP, and the practice
No.
I used to work in the UK, a lot of the staff used to go to India to do missionary work. And here in Australia as well, I'm finding the same thing, that there's a lot of misguided youth here who want to go out and do missionary work in India. And as a Hindu, I've never really had the argument to say, why are you doing this? India doesn't need this. I haven't had the strength. I think your books give us a clarification. I think the new book that you're planning sounds very exciting, where you're going to be, giving an agenda for us to challenge, Western thought processes, Anglicization of a lot of the countries that Britain occupied. So it's wonderful that we're able to rise and challenge, and it's, I'm greatly excited by your new project. So
I'm very happy to hear all this. What I would really like is when we do this August event in Toronto, it would be wonderful if the people in Australia, whoever wants a 2-minute slot, 3-minute slot, 5-minute slot, that Baleshji can select in advance, can be given the slot in which they can describe how they're using this knowledge in practice. So, for example, somebody may say, I'm on such and such interfaith, and these are the issues, and this is how I'm using the knowledge. Somebody else may say that I'm trying to get this knowledge into media. So it will be very helpful and inspiring to each other. Similarly, I will also one format. This is in response to what Baleshji said about what should be the format. One thought is that people on both sides should alternate. So you get one person from Australia giving a little bit about how they're using this knowledge, what are the issues they're facing. Then one person from Toronto, then one person from Australia, and then one from Toronto, like that. Give them short slots, have them be well prepared, and this way, you'll get a lot of ideas on the table as to what people are doing. So what you are doing with your knowledge, engaging these people that were previously, it was very formidable and scary to engage them, but now you can confidently engage them. This is excellent. You can develop on this, and in the mid-August event, you can take more time and maybe give a few specific concrete ideas where you have been able to make an impact and so on.
Thanks, Ajay. Now we have a next question from Brisbane. So Kusagli, you can unmute your mic and go for next question.
Malhotra ji, the question from Brisbane is that, as we discussed during our meeting even in December, with regards to what Zakir Naik has been spreading about, vilification of Hindutva. So we had been working, me, Baleshji and Prakhar ji over here, forming up the videos. So what I was just wondering, what would be the next step once we have assorted the videos and send it over to you? What would be the next logical step towards,
Okay. So here's what I suggest.
Yes.
Here's what I suggest. Three parts. 3 steps.
Yes.
First, you select one topic or one video of Zakir Naik where he's making a statement that we want to give a response. When you have found that video clip, step number 2 is you post it on the My E-group, and you should say, we would like participants in the E-group to come up with creative responses, facts, figures, data, how to rebuttal this. So we make a thread.
Okay.
In fact, what I can tell the moderator is that for 2-3 days, stop everything else and let only this topic be the topic discussed. Let everybody focus only on one topic for 2-3 days. So we will get a lot of material. Then step number 3, I will sit in front of a camera and I will give my response to Zakir Naik on using all the inputs from various people. I will compose a response. Then step number 4 is you will take my video and Zakir Naik's video and cut and paste them into one quick video saying Rajiv Malhotra's response to Zakir Naik on such and such issue. So in that, first comes Zakir Naik's point and then comes my response. That becomes one video. That is step number 4. So actually there's 4 or 5 steps. Then after you've done that, we will create, we'll put it up on a website. We will put it up, like we have already got YouTube website called, if you go to YouTube/Breaking India, that is my YouTube account. So we will put it there, and in the RajivMalhotra.com we can create another tab. We can create this tab called Responses to Zakir Naik. And so whether people go on my YouTube or whether they come to my other website, they'll be able to go and watch these. So the goal should be that if every month we take 1 or 2 topics of Zakir Naik and give a response, then in a year we'll have like a library of 30, 40 these small videos, each of them responding. That will be fantastic. You will have done a great service. This can have educational value all over the world.
Absolutely, Malhotraji. Thanks a lot for your guidance, and this is what we would do with the immediate effect.
Thanks, Rajivji. And just to let you know, we have already started working on this project, and Prakharji has been also working on this project. He is part of Sydney team. So there is next question from Prakhar Srivastav himself. And
Namaste, Rajivji. My question was is based on after reading your book. There's a situation. What happens is, whatever we look at in India, it's much easier to know which are the Breaking India forces. And I follow the news very closely, the Indian media. Of course, even though it's after Modi government is in power, they still are kind of biased towards the Breaking India forces. I was just curious to know if what do you think I know your book is coming out in that direction, but do you think these Breaking India forces will eventually die down? I also followed one of your tweet where you said the Americans are trying to either break India or reinvent India or something on the same lines. They want some kind of partnership. So is that one of the direction which we should also be working on, where you need to make sure that the foreign power are not part of redesigning India?
So this is a good question. I would say that my book gives you a way of not only understanding what's happening inside India, but even in Australia you will see things differently. When people are teaching yoga and they are calling it something else, they're distorting yoga as some kind of Christian thing or removing Hinduism out of it, then you will begin to see it differently. When you come across missionaries, you'll see it differently. When you come across these human rights organizations, you will see them differently. When some MP, somebody in parliament or some politician makes some statement, then I think the ideas I have put in will help you to understand in a big picture what is going on, why are they doing all these things, and you will also become a little suspicious and a little careful of these things. And another thing you will notice is after reading my stuff, you will be able to understand some of our own leaders. Hindu leaders are very confused and very naive. And there are people who are coming to Australia, and the kind of speeches they're giving or the kind of things they're teaching may not even be that necessarily good for us. So, for instance, they are mistranslating some Sanskrit words which should remain non-translatable. Like, don't let people translate, Murti as an idol, because idol has got a whole history and a whole connotation in the Western sense. Don't let them translate Varna as caste. So there is a lot of things like that which will help, which are not only applicable for better understanding of events in India, but also events in Australia or anywhere else. And there was this World Parliament in Australia, World Parliament of Religions. I couldn't go. I know some of the people who went there. I know some of the people who represented Hinduism. But those are some of the people that are very confused about Hinduism. I mean, I don't necessarily want to mention names, but I know some of the people who are big shots in the world representation of Hinduism, because they are very politically correct, they're very nice, very charismatic, and so the Western powers like such people because they will never challenge them. They are goody guys. They will never disagree with them. So they are very popular. And the kind of things we are raising are unpopular because people don't want to hear them. So these guys become very, they are the ones who are involved and invited and funded to become like globetrotters representing Hinduism. Your job partly is not just India based, but you have to be watching such people and pointing out that this is not authentic representation of Hinduism. For example, I'll tell you an example because it's happening right now. Uh, there is a very nice video from a producer in Mumbai on the history of yoga. It's a 2-hour video. It's the first video I have seen which I like, and so they wanted me to market it overseas. So I told them, if you want, Infinity Foundation can be the marketing. We can market it. We're not trying to make money, but at least we'll cover our costs. So we have signed an agreement for North America to be the exclusive marketing, and we are probably going to, after a little bit more experience, we will probably also extend it to cover Australia and various places. So I am going to gradually launch it in different places. Maybe when I visit Australia, we can bring some supply and you can sell it, because this video gives a very clear education on the historical origin of yoga and how it is not separable from Hinduism. You cannot separate it from Hinduism. And the person goes throughout India, north, south, east, west, from Harappa onwards, to show how it is in our temples and how it is in our festivals and how it is everywhere in India. So this is a great thing. Now, here is a tragedy. Some guy from Washington goes to these people in Mumbai and says, I will launch it in Washington. So the people in Mumbai accept it and sign up with him. Actually, I was doing meditation in Varanasi, so they did not even I did not even get to know that they already signed a deal that he will do some kind of a launch event. Even though Infinity Foundation is doing the marketing, but somebody else is doing the launch event, which is kind of strange. After this man in Washington has signed up with some political people in Washington, it's all he's a Hindu and he's an Indian, but the way he's doing it is just to impress white Americans and that he's some big shot. He organized this whole thing, and the strange thing is the official launch is going to be done by a well-known person in the Brahma Kumaris. Okay. Now this person in the Brahma Kumaris does not believe that there is such a thing as Hinduism. Does not believes that we should be spiritual and we should not separate ourselves. There is no Hinduism, and don't believe in Hinduism. Don't believe that yoga is Hindu. Now, this is a very articulate person, very smooth talking person, but the message is not the correct message for us. So now the thing is, this person in Washington then calls me and invites me to help in the launch, because after all we are going to market this. So I asked him to show me the event, and when he shows me that this is the person from Brahma Kumari, I immediately said I would like to send her 2-3 questions to see what is her opinion on yoga, on Hinduism. And sure enough, I find out, and this guy also learns that this is what her point is completely antithetical to our yoga video. The video we have on the history of yoga is saying it's an entirely Hindu thing, and this person they've got, who's the chief guest, who will present herself as an Indian in a sari, but talk about things which are not consistent. So I told these people that this, now see, I'm giving you this as an example. This happens throughout the Western world and everywhere probably, that Indians who are supposed to be representing Hinduism are sometimes not capable of doing a good job, and sometimes they're doing more harm than good. So this is, I would say, your job is not only in India, watching India, your job is, you'll be amazed at how much you will find this kind of thing happening in Australia, I'm sure.
That's very true, Rajaji. And you're right in saying that in beginning you said we don't only have to fight or by work with other community and other tradition and faiths. We also have to work with the community or the people within Hinduism who do not subscribe to the right form of Hinduism, or who have completely polluted form of Hinduism, or maybe in your term, the right term says basically who are working for digestion or even U-turn concept. So now we have another question. Yeah, we have another question from Melbourne. So Melbourne team, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Pranam Rajiv ji again. This is Shivesh Pandey. As we all are, some of us are young parents here. So as an adult, we have access to your books or a lot of literature. We can teach ourselves first. My question is for the next generation. Like we have small kids who are being raised here. I agree with Poonam Sharma ji as well. How do we guide them? Would you share some ideas to young kids about Hinduism so that they are not they when they are raised in Western community here, how they protect themselves as Hindu or how they present themselves as Hindu as a kid. As an adult, we can read a lot of things, we can prepare ourselves. But I'm really confused because I'm father of two, how to give them a lot of basic Hindu knowledge. Would you
See,
mind?
the best, I have done several events with young people on Hindu identity, basically addressing these kind of questions, high school level and college level for sure in many, many cases. And my 2-day event in Washington in October, 1 day is on Kshatriyata, which is mainly for adults, and 1 day is young people. Basically, the reason they're calling me back is I addressed a couple of years ago. I went to Washington, gave 5 talks in different Chinmaya mission temples, Bal Vihars, student and teachers, and they really learned a lot. They asked all kind of questions like what to do when this comes up, what to do if you're embarrassed, how to handle this situation which is very awkward for us. So these interactions were so good. Unfortunately, you know, this is the problem with our people. Even though they promised they will video record it, the quality of the video recording was so poor, we were not able to utilize that for education purposes. And so we lost a very good database of video, you know, discussions. Otherwise, I could have sent you that. But I want to create a video library for young people, where it's a conversation with young people. They're asking the kind of questions which they face very regularly, and they're getting answers. And this, I think, is the way we're going to spread throughout the world a kind of pride of Hinduism among young people. This is a very important point you've raised. And my methodology is to have engagements with them and then make sure it's professionally recorded, edited, and then we create an online video library where their questions, most common questions that young people have, are given an answer. That's how we have to do it.
Thank you so much.
I think the school textbook issue, the school textbook, you see, the school textbooks in India will not teach religion because they'll consider it to be some problem. They need to correct it on the history of India. Even the history of India is so distorted. But school textbooks in US, Canada, Singapore, Australia, UK, they at some stage in school they are teaching world religions. So I'm sure in Australia there's some course on world religion somewhere in later years. I don't know at what stage, but I'm sure. So what you need to do as parents is review those books. Review those books before your child enters. Question some of the material there. Go to the educational authorities and engage the experts who are writing on the world religions, on Hinduism, and draw out examples and facts about what is unfair. We found, for example, and I have been a consultant in Virginia textbook, New Jersey textbook, California textbook, all kind of these. We found that the way they treat Islam, there is not a single negative thing. They will not show, you know, women being abused and women, you know, are second class. But in Hinduism, it's full of all that. They will not show Islam violence history. Hinduism, they'll always talk about, you know, that they've raped these people and they've got that problem. So you also have to have the courage of having a point by point, have a table saying, this is what you are saying about Islam, but this is what you're saying about Hinduism, and point by point comparison, give page numbers of the textbook and say this is not fair. I think if you want your children to be benefiting, then you as a parent have to do the job of some activism and lobbying and evangelical work yourself. That is the your children will be impressed. They will also be very benefited that, you know, mom and dad are out there, and therefore they will be very inspired. You cannot turn over to school or Bal Vihar and say, okay, we're paying you some fee and you solve the problem, because it will not. They don't have the same heart. They don't have their heart in the same place. You as a parent have to be informed and educate not only your children, but then take the fight to the school system and let others benefit also.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think we have an additional question on the same thing from Poonamji.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point. My children, they went to the school in the UK. In the UK, they teach world religions, quite fairly. But I found my experience in Australia, especially in the secondary schools, that they are they don't really teach world religion in the state school. They tend to focus more on Christianity. And the teacher that my son has in year 7 was blatantly, what do you call it, preaching, sort of saying that if you're not a Christian in an indirect way, you'll be condemned. And when my son told me, I was astonished. I couldn't believe it. But I think this is, like you say, as parents, we can be active and say to the teachers, this is not acceptable. But I think we as parents have to get together. But I think it's more of a challenge in Australia compared to the UK. I found it quite astonishing. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you should also see what do the policies say. Do the policies say that evangelism and proselytizing have to be left out? And if you can get written policies, written regulations about the education system which are being violated, then you are on solid ground. Then you can say that I'm doing it partly as a good citizen because I want to make sure that our school system teachers are complying with the regulations, and if they are not, it is my job to bring it to your attention. So you present it in that way, and I think you have to then give quotations of what is being taught, either orally or in writing, what is being taught, what is wrong with it, what is biased about it. And yeah, if you organize the strange thing is, I've been doing this for 25 years. I have greater success if I go alone without other Hindu parents. If I go with other Hindu parents, they very quickly wo kahenge, nahi sahab, nahi, theek hai, you are fine. They start apologizing. It brings me down. When I go alone, I can fight, When I go with other people, other Hindus and Indians, they're so scared, they're cowards, it's bad for me. I tell you, I was chairman of the Asian Studies Commission for New Jersey. New Jersey's got 30 million people, almost like Australia. It's a significant state, and so the previous governor, not this one, but previous governor appointed Asian Commission, and there were different committees. I was in charge of the education. So after having many hearings and all that, I put together a whole plan on how to teach Asia, India, China, all these different countries in the school system. And there were Indian parents in this committee who were unhappy that I was not talking about the abuses of Hinduism. That was not part of my curriculum. They thought it is our job to talk about how we are useless people. He says, but how come you are not talking about caste abuse? I said, well, none of the other traditions in their curriculum are talking about their abuses. They are not talking about slavery and Christianity. They are not talking about jihad and Islam. These are not the things they're teaching the children. So why are you requiring that Hinduism has to do all this? Because these guys had a very serious problem. And I had positive things like, how Hinduism is a birth of Buddhism, and from India, the whole Buddhism was spread in a very peaceful way and helped the civilization all over Asia. And these guys would not want to have such positive things. So what I finally got, I got other people, non-Indians, on my side. There was one Chinese who was a Buddhist who wanted to support me. The Japanese wanted to support me. The Vietnamese supported me. The person from Myanmar supported me. So I had a private meeting with these people from Southeast Asia and East Asia and told them, if you want all this new Asian studies program to go through, then you have to become vocal. So at the next meeting, it is these people who voted all in favor of my whole plan. And the two guys from India, the two Indians who were previously critical, they were so stunned, they kept quiet, and after that they did not even come for meetings anymore. So I had to use other people, outsiders. This is how silly our situation is. But you have to, the more conversations we have like we're having right now, the more you go out and experience these things, the more you'll be convinced that this is actually true. And you have to fight everywhere, not only the outsiders, but the insiders also.
You're right, Rajivji, and one very astonishing example of this hypocrisy from other side as well is from Australia, that when they talk about casteism in India, in Australia they forget that until 1965, they didn't even counted Aboriginal people as humans. In census, they were counted as flora and fauna. They were not even counted as humans. So our next question is from Sri Rajiv Dokaji. He is also parent of Sir Radhakrishnan Dokaji. He is also parent of young kids. Let's see how courageous he is in front of school system.
Namaste, Rajiv ji.
Namaste.
It's a pleasure talking to you here.
Same here.
I have a question, or rather, the reason why we have all joined here as part of the group here, wishing to study more about your work and coming together to help ourselves and our younger generation. I work with the Hindu Swayamsevak Sangh here in Australia as an active volunteer, and the challenge that I face is how do I convince, or how do we go about in bringing our youth, our children, into our fold? Like you said, when you said you wanted your audience to be, when you wanted to prepare intellectual Kshatriyas, the prerequisite there was not to argue with people who were not already sold to this idea. So what my fear here is that is fine. Everybody in this room, everybody who are attending this conference, and there are many other people out there who are already sold, so there's not an issue there. But my issue is with our children and our younger generation and our youth who are living in this country, who also do not have an idea of what Hinduism actually is. And we have, in the form of the youth camps that we conduct, children camps that we've been conducting here with the help of Hindu Swayamsevak Sangh over the last 14 years, a target audience. And this is where I am looking for help from people like yourself, from Infinity Foundation, and like-minded people all over the world, so that we can get some help and guidance as to what is the right thing to do and a right fashion to do, so that we can help our kids as well to come back into at least the prerequisite form of being an intellectual Kshatriya.
Yeah, so this book which I'm writing now, this book gives you very specifically the 5 or 6 major entry points into Hinduism, which are not conventional but very innovative and which will appeal to the young people. I'm looking at different ways of bringing young people into Hinduism using a certain technique. You will see, I mean, within I think 3 months I'll have a good outline to the skeleton of this book I can share with some people, hopefully by then. End of summer is my goal. But I'm addressing this very issue. After so many years of going around talking to people, I found out what are the hot buttons. What are the hot buttons the youth want to hear? What are the things they need to have addressed in order to be impressed by Hinduism being relevant in their lives? Let me just go. I'll get a piece of paper because I want to jot down one point. Hold on. I don't want to forget. Hold on.
So, can we see?
He's going to get a paper.
Yes, sorry about that. So basically, one of the prime targets, one of the prime reasons for writing this is not just for government and authorities, but I also want Hinduism to become cool. You know, Hinduism should become cool. So what are the cool issues? And the Hindu position, the Hinduism as a resource. So this is the way you're going to bring kids into it, because you must know what are the social, political, ecological, health issues facing humanity. You know, so there is health. So this is how I'm going to introduce Hinduism. there is social issues, there is political, there is things like animal rights. And I found this is not just my idea. This is not just, I've tested these things. I've tested that you go to high school and you start saying, okay, I'm going to give you I'm not talking on the kind of Hinduism they may be thinking of. I'm going to talk about environmentalism. And under environmentalism, I'm going to talk to you about the sacredness of the earth, the sacredness of geography, sacredness of nature, and why it is so. Then from there I can go into the philosophy, deeper and deeper. And then I can explain to them some rituals, why we do this ritual, what it has to do with environment. So this way, if you approach, you see, we need to have more imagination, because when you look at our ancestors in Hinduism, they did this very successfully. You know, our so many traditions started as a very practical thing. Like Bal Gangadhar Tilak started this Ganesh Chaturthi as a way of bringing community together against the British. It was only started 100 years ago. So it is not that all the things we are practicing are 5,000 years old. Some of the things have been invented recently as a very practical thing. So we can do this also. We should present Hinduism in a suitable way for different audiences. So for young people, you should present it in the light of the major issues facing society, facing their generation. West does not have an answer, and Hinduism has an answer. So that is how you will see in my book, that is how I'm presenting things.
There is a related question, Rajivji, on how the culture can be impacted, Hindu culture can be impacted in West. And this question comes from Karthik Subramaniamji.
In Western countries, most of the temples, which are kind of independent identities, have programs, pujas, and spiritual talks aimed at a kind of a migrant population who already practice it. This is quite irrelevant to the youth. Do you have, or what is the experience in America, where are there any programs which are specifically run for children? Because many parents do take their children to the temple at least once a week. Are there any programs which teach them some basic foundation of day-to-day Hinduism and things like that?
See, Chinmay Mission has Bal Vihar. Very successful in the sense of how many thousands of people go with their children. Various other organizations have youth programs once a week, but the irony is that they're only teaching them how to be a Hindu in your private life. They are not teaching them how to be a Hindu in your public life. So once the child is not under the protection of the family and the parents, but has to go out and defend his own identity by himself, he's got no training. So that is when they are vulnerable, when they leave family and go to college. So now what has happened is, in the last 6 months, these Chinmay Mission type people are inviting me to come and supplement their curriculum with this kind of knowledge. Until 6 months ago, I was considered too controversial. I was considered too controversial by some of the Hindu groups, because they say we don't want to talk about such things. We are here and we just do some worship and do some satsang and then we go. We don't want to talk about these things. But now the parents are coming and telling the Swamijis that, look, what you have taught is great, but it is not complete. We need more knowledge. Our children need to have more knowledge to how to face the world, how to represent yourself and your identity in front of the whole world, in front of a whole hostile world, a skeptical world, a world that will poke questions at you. So these are the things that that is why I'm addressing these, developing a kind of a curriculum to address these kind of things.
Thanks, Rajivji. Next question comes from Brisbane. Brisbane, go ahead.
Thanks, Baleji. Malhotra ji, as I've already confessed that my knowledge is a bit limited, so please pardon me if my question sounds a bit naive. I've read through some of your articles as well as gone through your videos, and there is one concept which you quite regularly talk about, which is tolerance among the Christian states, or maybe within secular countries, and the idea central to Hinduism of mutual respect. Now, when I get into discussions with the people over here from Australia as well as with among Indians, the moment I discuss about the Hindutva having this core concept of mutual respect, they begin to wonder that am I trying to promote Hindutva as part of political ideology? So on that front, I would like to take further guidance from you as what are your thoughts on it? Like, is it okay to actually say that yes, in any political ideology which has its Hindutva as its central theme is actually more progressive because it is based on the idea of mutual respect rather than merely mutual tolerance?
See, thing is this, rather than calling it political, you have to say that we live in a multicultural world. It is not a matter of choice. We live in a world where there is many cultures and many traditions and many faiths. There is pluralism. Pluralism means a lot of traditions exist. So that is a given reality. We can't deny that. So the question is, what is my choice as a Hindu or as a Christian or as a Muslim? What is my choice towards other faiths? I cannot deny that they exist. I cannot deny that there are differences. If I deny that there are differences, I'm getting digested. So I don't want to get digested and get diluted and finished. I want to be authentic. I want to be authentic as a Hindu. And if I'm authentic as a Hindu, there are differences among faiths. So the question of I have people in my office who are from different religions. I have people in my neighborhood, my children's school, in their classes. They have people with different religions. So we are coming across people who are not from our tradition. They are from different faiths. This is not something political. It is something we have to face. So the question is, what can we do to face this sort of a multicultural, multi-faith world? And the choice is, if you want to be intolerant, that is the worst choice. That all others are wrong, and we have to, you guys have to condemn. You got to go to hell, and this and that and that. So intolerance is a bad idea. It's you can say whatever you want to, nobody will deny that intolerance is a bad idea, or let's say 99% of people would agree that intolerance is a bad idea. Better than that is tolerance. So if tolerance is better than intolerance, then let's see if that is good enough. Tolerance is better than intolerance, but we are arguing that it is not good enough because it comes from an attitude that, secretly, privately, I know you are no good, you are going to go to hell, you are condemned, but I will put up with it, I won't make a big issue publicly, I will tolerate you, and so on. So if we want to go from that to a higher level, we go to mutual respect. Question is that other faiths can't accept the mutual respect. That is our strategy, is to expose that I am offering you. I am saying namaste, namaste Kushagra, and Kushagra says nahi main to aapko namaste bolunga, so it means that you and I are one, main to keh nahi sakta. It embarrasses you because I am able to say this, but you're not able to respond. You see what I'm saying? It's like you offer a handshake, and the other guy says, I can't shake the hand of you are a person of a certain race or whatever. So it really exposes him in public. If I know that somebody thinks that I am not worth shaking hands because I belong to an inferior race. Suppose somebody is like that secretly, but he's a hypocrite. He's pretending in public that he's a very nice guy. Then my strategy will be that in front of everybody, I offer him my hand and say, "Arey, let's shake hands." And he can't because his people are sitting there, and he's told them we're not supposed to shake hands with these kind of people. So he can't. And by doing this gesture, I'm exposing him. So I don't think it is there's any problem. I think it's just a smart way to bring out our advantage. And we live in a world of competitive faiths. Like there's products are competing in the various consumer markets, whether it's airlines or soft drinks or clothes or whatever. So similarly, ideologies are competing for the mind share of people. Like market share, we have mind share. So, why are we supposed to deny that this is going on? This is actually going on. It has been going on for a long time. And we are sort of living in a world as if we don't care. And that is why we keep losing market share. So we have to come out with what is our advantage in these debates. And if we can bring up mutual respect as a point of difference and really score some points, and convince. And this is one of the, it'll also it's also an answer to the earlier question on children. So how to impress children? These are the kind of things you teach your child, how to differentiate between tolerance and mutual respect, and how to make an issue out of it, how to argue philosophically in what is mutual respect, why we offer mutual respect, why it is better for Australian society, it is better for the office, it is better for the neighborhood, better for the classroom. If your son or daughter can make that point, and you have to give them practice, they have to try it 20 times, and they'll keep getting better and better with your help. Then, you know, their confidence, even one little point like that, the amount of confidence they will get to stand up in a group and be a Hindu, make that point, that confidence will be amazing. I'm telling you this. If a child in school can hang on to one or two interesting points about Hinduism and learn to master it in a discussion and hold on to his arguments, he'll get so much confidence that he will look out of his way, he'll go for chance to be Hindu. That is, so I don't think we should say कि अरे हाँ political है नहीं करना चाहिए like that. Maybe some Hindu groups, the kind I mentioned earlier, who are ashamed of asserting Hinduism, they'll be the ones who will say nahi karo because it's political. That is, but I think as far as I'm concerned, I would say I would always support that you should be very truthful as a Hindu, and you know, if that means that there are some great positive things coming out, that's wonderful.
That's great strategy.
Thanks a lot, Malhotra ji. That was very enlightening, and you have just given a shot in our arm, and we're going to debate this with other communities and other faiths with more vigor.
Yeah, yeah.
And we can
okay, now I want to ask Balesh ji, how are we doing for time? Because I have like 8:20. At what time? Because I have a house guest, actually a very dear friend of mine that we went to school with and went to college with, and he's visiting from India, so he's here for a little while. I told him today is a very important day, so I left him alone a little bit. But how long more do you think you plan that we'll continue?
Can we steal 15 more minutes from you, or would that be
no, if 15 minutes is very good. Let's do it. And also I will request, can you send a copy of the video recording, because I'll have my secretary put it up on our YouTube also.
Definitely. We are recording this, and we will definitely share it with you. One quick point: we can vouch for the strategy that you have been saying, that since we got these per se facts and these exciting topics about Hinduism, even we are looking out for debates and chances that we can debate with other faiths and prove this thing. And one more thing, that historical fact we can ponder on when it comes to comparison of so-called monotheism with pluralism or polytheism, that there is nothing in history which was contributed by so-called monotheism which is good for humanity per se. You can take democracy, medicine, or humanism, or justice, or law system, or even for that matter astronomy or mathematics. But
that is correct. You know, when you look at integral unity and synthetic unity, you will find that these knowledge systems, whether it's astronomy, whether it's mathematics, whether it is Ayurveda, all these kind of things are integrally part of Hinduism, not synthetically unified, not synthetic items that have been added later. It is not that some secular guy invented some healing system and we added it, and then some secular guy invented mathematics and then we added it. All these scientific things and other things are the result of certain metaphysics, certain philosophies, certain core axioms that are very distinct in Hinduism. And in the case of the biblical, the Abrahamic traditions, those civilizations did advance a huge amount, but not because of their Christianity, not because of the philosophy. They did it after most of the modern science came after they had to hit back at the church. They had to clip the wings of the church, limit their power. That is what gave scientific freedom. Look at Galileo and Copernicus, who were killed because their ideas did not match the church. So church has been against freedom of thinking, free speech, scientific inquiry, and we've never had that kind of a thing.
That's right. Now, in continuation to this, we have a brief question from Sagarji, and then we'll take one more question from Melbourne, and then we'll briefly discuss the events that we are planning ahead for Infinity Foundation, and then we'll wrap this conference. So next is Sagarji.
Namaste, Rajiv ji. It's a pleasure reading your books. I was basically a great fan of fiction, but you have converted me into a non-fiction reading guy. So my question is, I have a very good friend of mine with whom I frequently have such conversations. He asked me a question which I couldn't answer at that moment, so I would be needing some assistance from you as well. It is related to the education system what we have back in India. So with the current education system, I personally favor introducing Bhagavad Gita or yoga across the length and breadth of India. But his question was, if that is the case, if we consider Australia or United States or any other country for that matter, what is wrong in them preaching their own religion in that school? So
see, the thing is that Christianity, even when you don't preach Christianity, but when you preach secularism and when you are preaching Western universalism, there is Christianity hidden inside. Western universalism hides Christianity inside in a very subtle way. That is one of the things I bring out in Being Different. So when you are giving a very highly westernized worldview, their categories, their ideas of the way the world is, the Christian premises, the Christian assumptions are hidden inside. So in our case, we do not we call it dharma, and dharma is not limited to your relationship with God. Dharma is also about your social responsibility. You do not want to have people who are irresponsible and corrupt and so on. You do want the benefit of dharma because you have a better society, you have more environmentally friendly policies, you have more animal friendly policies, you have more better human rights. So these are you have to evaluate based on the merit. Just like Baleshji said, those other traditions have not had a history of making contributions. So if they are not serving a social purpose, it is only a religious kind of a religious ideology, but does not serve benefit of humanity in any other way, then why are we going to be suffering from their problem? We have great things to teach about values that will help human beings, and we should not be embarrassed of that at all.
Yeah, it's thanks for that, Rajivji. But this definitely would be the same question our pseudo-secular media would be posing the Indian government in future if they want to introduce such things.
No, I will. The reason I'm writing, the reason I'm writing this book is I'm anticipating that fight. I'm anticipating that there'll be a very big fight in India where there'll be a pushback. There'll be a big pushback from non-Hindu people. Right now they're sitting quiet. They're sitting quiet because Modi is strong, but they're waiting for a scandal. They're waiting for some mishap. There is no perfect government. Always there is some problem. They are waiting because of monsoon, maybe economy is not as good. They are waiting for something which did not go as expected because expectations are very high, unrealistically high from Modi. And then they have an opportunity to pounce. And then do the Hindus have a response? Do they have a good defense when they are attacked? I want to write a book very quickly to give this argument.
Another main
because I don't think that the war is over. I think the war has just started.
Yep, that's right. And another main difference that we see between Dharmic tradition and Abrahamic tradition is exclusivism. Yes. That when they say only we are right and nobody else can be right, and for them to be right, others have to be wrong. That is the fundamental difference between. Now we will take a brief question from Melbourne, and then we'll move to our next discussion. Melbourne, please go ahead.
Namaste, Rajiv ji.
Namaste.
I'm Mukesh here, Melbourne से. आपने जो काफी बातें कही है, I agree completely that all religions convey similar views, and I have two boys, And my challenge is, first of all, getting them to respect all religions. Trying to even get them to respect whether it's Hinduism or Christianity or Muslim, just respect all religions. So, but I think the way the generation is moving, I'm not sure what place religion will have in the future. Will it really exist as more and more people are moving away? The other thing is, the last point is, I think with the next generation is moving on very quickly. They don't even stay in one job for a long time. So if they're not seeing benefits or of some of the rituals that you're preaching, I don't know how they'll stick on. So I know you mentioned about making Hinduism cool. आप अपनी बुक में से 2-3 चीजें ऐसे बता सकते हैं जो that'll make them look cool, where they'll start getting interested in knowing more.
See, your first issue, okay, the last one on 1 or 2 points, I want you to wait a few weeks, because I want to then let these ideas come out on why Hinduism is cool. But on your first issue, that people are going away from religion, I don't think it's true, because maybe when they are very young, it's not fashionable to be very religious. But if you look at society as a whole, Muslim countries are getting more Islamized, Christian countries are getting more Christianized. You look at the Christianity in Russia is growing. You look at all the South Korea is becoming highly Christianized. So these countries are becoming as the natural resources in the world will have more competition. Water, oil, minerals, food. Population is increasing, huge population, and there are 7.5 billion people, yes, and only 1 billion people living the Western lifestyle. 1 billion people, North America, Europe, Australia, these places are less than 1 billion. 1 billion people include Japan also, include 50 million Indian, 100 million Indians, some Chinese, maybe it's 1.5 billion. So that means like 20% of humanity is living the Western lifestyle. 80% are wanting to have that lifestyle. Where will so much water come from? Food. Where will so much energy come from? Where will so much raw material come from to give so much? If you look at the per capita consumption of these 1.5 billion people living the good lifestyle, and if you assume that the entire 100% of the population are going to have that much per capita consumption, how many trees are needed to make that much paper, like that kind of thing you can calculate. We don't have enough resources in this world. And not only 7.5 billion, soon the population will be 13 billion. They are expecting the population to be, by the middle of this century, to be 12-13 billion. So that means 10 times the 1.5 billion who have this lifestyle. So it means that for every one person living the top lifestyle, there are 9 others who also want it by the middle of the century. This means that the competition between supply and demand will become worse. The greed, the hunger to go capture resources, like China is capturing African resources. They're buying up right and left things which have timber or minerals or metals or whatever, and they're buying up energy. So people who got people are trying to look after their own civilization, their own people, by gobbling up the world resources. So when people compete more and more fiercely for international resources, and the resources are getting scarce and not getting bigger but lesser, you see, then the idea of who we are becomes stronger. Identity becomes stronger. Governments and all these people have to continually put into the minds of people that we are those of this kind of people. We come from this background. Hamara itihas ye hai. Whether you are Muslim, whether you are Turkish, whether you are, whatever kind of people you are, Russian, you have to constantly create the sense of identity and loyalty to that identity among your people. So when I look at the macro view in the next few decades, I do not see that the world is going towards less and less identity. I think, yes, it looks like that when you look at pop culture, when you look at theater, when you look at movies, when you play Holi and Bhangra and all that, you look like, hi, there are no differences. But that is just at the surface, that is just pop culture. Deep down, the vested interests are there, and the collective identity is getting stronger, and religion and tradition is definitely part of this collective identity. That is not going to go away.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rajiv. Now, being watchful of time, I want to explain a little bit about our planning of future events. In terms of events, we are planning to organize a Dharmic conference, which will include Hinduism, Jainism, or all Eastern Dharmas, Buddhism, in Australia. and this would be organized by the help of Hindu Council of Australia and also Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh and other organizations. We are expecting your presence in that, maybe physically or maybe through video conference. This conference should be organized before end of this year. So we are working on this. As soon as the details are being finalized, we'll share those details. Next big thing that we are planning is in end of March, we are planning interfaith event, which would be quite big event, and where we are hoping participation from all of the Abrahamic religions as well. And this time we are, and main motive of this is basically we are trying to have a good Hindu representation on other interfaith events, whereby mainly agenda is set by those organizations and those traditions. So even though we try to represent Hinduism in best way, but because the agenda is set by them, there is only so much room for us to basically counter their points, because there is a framework that they present, and they make us limited to that framework. Now, doing this interfaith conference, we want to turn this table. We want to set our agenda, like just you just said, that when we start talking about moving ahead from tolerance and move towards respect, the whole table is turned. Whereas in their conferences, the talk is going from intolerance towards tolerance. So these type of basic differences, if we establish in our framework in our interfaith conferences, the table is completely turned. So these are the efforts that we are going to plan in coming time. And end of March, we have World Cup, Cricket World Cup also in Australia. So we are hoping other people to also come in Australia. So this conference we are planning just immediately after this World Cup. So, and as you have graciously accepted the invitation, you would be present in this conference, we hope. And then we will organize, apart from that, we'll organize few other events, like with the help of HSS, we'll organize a youth debate or youth workshop as well, and number of workshops with Infinity Foundation members as well. So these are
okay,
the
let me ask you this. I just looked at my calendar. March 2015, when is the World Cup, and when I want to block it in my calendar right now. So tell me the dates I should block.
29th and 28th is the last match in Sydney, I think.
When does the match start?
I think the last match in Sydney is on 28th.
World Cup starts in January.
World Cup starts in January.
So it's February. February.
So the last match in Sydney would be on 28th of March. So 29th is, I think, is weekend, somewhere Friday or something. So that would be suitable for us. I'll send you those details, those dates, and maybe we can work on those dates.
Yeah. So what we should do, okay, just to write it down, 28th World Cup is over, and then we should start 29th, 30th. How many days roughly?
Maybe 2 days. World Cup is not over on 28th. The last match in Sydney is on 28th, and there would be last match in Melbourne. So 28th, when is that? I think it is on 30th or maybe 29th. Sorry, 29th maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, final is on 29th.
Yeah, Sunday, Sunday 29th. They'll probably do it on a Sunday.
Yeah. So date of 27, 28, 29, these dates are good for that, because 27 till 29 is weekend. So we can try working. It's long weekend. So yeah, these dates we can work on for Interfaith Forum, and we'll start working on this forum as soon as possible, so that we can make it a big success.
So आप ऐसे कीजिए, if we can nail down some dates, then we can start even marketing it. We can start informing people, because this is a long away, far away trip, and people may have to really plan long in advance.
Very right, very right. Okay, yeah, we'll start working on these as soon as possible.
Yeah.
ICC, yes. We have to also consider other conferences that Subramaniam ji is just telling that there is ICC conference in Mysore. So
the International Council of Elders, organized by Yashwant Pataji in Mysore. So that's
okay.
January into February. I don't know whether you're going for that. But.
No, I have no. I may be there. If I'm there, I might attend. Yeah, if I'm in India, yeah.
So I'll send those details. If there is any closing remark from any other team, Brisbane or Melbourne, that's fine. Otherwise, we thanks a lot to Rajiv ji for his time. And
thank you. Thank you. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you, Rajiv.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaskar. And we'll set up another one in a few weeks.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Malhotra ji. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It was really a pleasure. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv. Namaskar. Namaskar.